Noam Chomsky has been a staunch critic of the decline of United States diplomacy and the rise of the military-industrial complex for decades. He has consistently argued that the U.S. has become increasingly reliant on military force to achieve its foreign policy goals, and that this has led to a number of negative consequences, both domestically and internationally. Chomsky's critique of U.S. foreign policy is rooted in his understanding of the nature of power. He argues that power is not simply the ability to coerce others, but also the ability to gain their consent. In his view, the U.S. has increasingly relied on coercion in its foreign policy, and this has led to a decline in its ability to gain the consent of other nations. This decline in U.S. diplomatic power has been accompanied by a rise in the power of the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex is a term used to describe the close relationship between the U.S. military, the arms industry, and the government. Chomsky argues that the military-industrial complex has a vested interest in maintaining a high level of military spending, and that this has led to a distortion of U.S. priorities. In Chomsky's view, the U.S. has become a garrison state in which the needs of the military are prioritized over the needs of the people. He argues that this has led to a decline in social programs, education, and infrastructure. Chomsky has also argued that the U.S.'s reliance on military force has led to a decline in respect for international law. He has pointed to the U.S.'s invasion of Iraq in 2003 as a prime example of this. The invasion was widely condemned as illegal, and it has had a lasting negative impact on the U.S.'s reputation in the world. In addition to the negative consequences for international law, Chomsky has also argued that the U.S.'s reliance on military force has led to an increase in global instability. He has pointed to the wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya as examples of how U.S. military interventions have often led to unintended consequences, such as the rise of extremist groups. Chomsky has called for a fundamental shift in U.S. foreign policy. He argues that the U.S. needs to move away from its reliance on military force and towards a more diplomatic approach to international relations. He has also called for a reduction in military spending and a reallocation of resources towards social programs, education, and infrastructure. Chomsky's views on U.S. foreign policy are not without their critics. Some argue that he is too idealistic and that his proposals are not realistic. However, Chomsky's critique of U.S. foreign policy remains a valuable contribution to the debate on how the U.S. should engage with the world.